Well, to get onto the topic of vaccination, smallpox, vaccination against smallpox is what we're talking about. And smallpox was the greatest scourge ever to hit the human population of this world. It started out about 10,000 BC in northeast Africa, Syria, Turkey, Iraq. By 3000 BC, it had spread to China, to India, and it eventually made its way around the entire globe. In the 18th century, in Europe, 400,000 people a year died from smallpox, and a third of the survivors went blind. Those who survived this horrible disease were left with deep pockmarked scars all over their bodies. Women who had been beautiful ended up with ugly faces. Children bore the scars of smallpox. It was really a horrible thing. And quite accidentally, it ended up being spread to the Western world by conquistadors. And it wiped out most of the Incan Empire. That one disease had more of an impact on world political history than anything else. It wasn't the conquering armies that caused the Spanish conquistadors to triumph in the Western world. It was the result of smallpox that laid bare the bodies of the people that it affected. It killed their leaders, it killed their military, it killed their workers, it killed everybody. People would lay on their mats, these indigenous people would lay on their mats, their bodies would simply be one huge pustule oozing as they died horrible, horrible deaths. They had no immunity to this. It spread from Central America to South America and finally up into what is now the United States. It was used as a biological weapon against Native Americans when blankets infected with smallpox were intentionally given to them. So it has had a tremendous impact. Now, around the world, the process of variolation was used. It was used in China, where they would take scabs from people who suffered from smallpox. They would grind them up and inhale them through a straw. And what this did was it would cause people to develop smallpox, but it was often a less virulent form of the disease. People did die from it, however, and so it remained a problem. There were actually variolation hospitals in Europe, and a lot of money was made from these, but only the wealthy were able to afford to have this done in this long period of convalescence as people recovered from the milder form of smallpox. What was discovered is that cowpox got onto the hands of milkmaids, and the milkmaids were immune to smallpox. And this was first discovered by a man called Jesty. His last name is Jesty, and he used cowpox to inoculate his family, and they didn't come down with smallpox. Eventually, Edward Jenner came along, and Edward Jenner started the scientific investigation of this. He, over time, was able to get cowpox pustules, and it was difficult to do because this was not a common disease in cows. He had to wait for an outbreak of it, and he finally developed this vaccine, but the Royal Society in England wouldn't publish his findings on it because they thought they were too radical and that he really hadn't done enough research, although he had done considerable research on it. It
Let
finally...
people die.
Pardon me?
Let people die. We need more research.
We need more research. Does that sound familiar?
Well, actually, in the chat room, it's like, well, it reduces the surplus population.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Really.
I'm just reporting it,
And it's amazing. I discuss in the book the various groups who were opposed to the use of the smallpox vaccine for a number of different reasons, involving religious ideas, involving greed. My goodness, if we had the smallpox vaccine, we could no longer run our variolation hospitals, and we'd lose all of this money. So, and politics came into it. There were a number of different reasons why people rejected this idea, and so many thousands of people died as a result of this terrible, terrible illness that could have been prevented. There were cartoons in newspapers and songs that were written in that day, and in the book you'll see an old drawing done by a political cartoonist who shows people sprouting cow parts, women with udders and horns, and men with horns and tails, which was sort of an old wives' tale that if you actually had an inoculation, a vaccination, using this cowpox vaccine, that you would end up developing the physical characteristics of cows. So it's quite hilarious when you look back on it, but at the same time, it's very disturbing that all of this went on.
And it's, in the book it says that smallpox has been eradicated, but haven't there been some small outbreaks of smallpox in recent days?
I haven't heard about those. Can you?
No, I haven't either.
I don't know. I watch too much TV,
There was talk about the fact that the major medical organizations around the world were wanting to destroy their supply of the vaccine, really, because, after all, now smallpox was licked. We got other problems to worry about. And there's been no shortage of other problems. There's a chapter in the book about the hemophilia holocaust, because some doctors said the chances of your getting HIV from blood transfusions, 1 in a million.
Yeah.
It was slightly wrong. There were 10,000 American hemophiliacs, big percentage of them, who developed HIV from transfusions because the medical community wasn't paying attention to what was going on.
Well, we're going to stay on the medical thing when we come back, because I want to talk about eugenics, because that is just kind of creepy to me.
Yep.
I'm Dr. Rita Louise. We're talking to Stanton Friedman and Kathleen Mardon about their new book, Science Was Wrong, and we will be back after these words from our sponsors.
Just Energy Radio with your host, Dr. Rita Louise, will return right after these messages. And now back to Just Energy Radio with Dr. Rita Louise.
Hello and welcome back to Just Energy Radio. I'm Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for staying tuned to the second hour of the show. And remember, if you're enjoying the programming today, please do mark it as a favorite. So today we're talking to Stanton Friedman and Kathleen Mardon about their new book, Science Was Wrong, and their webpage where you can buy the book, and I think this one they'll autograph too, is stantonfriedman.com and kathleen-mardon.com.